And I think you've talked about it on the radio a little bit about the urgency to win the 26. Is that the main focus as you're viewing proposals over the next week or so?
Yeah, we have to deliver better, more to our fans, and really focusing that on how do we build a team that's going to be better on the field between now and March 2026. And our intent will be to be prepared between now and Thursday to be prepared to strike if we see something that we think can help us towards that. Certainly don't think Thursday is the end of that work by any means, but it is an opportunity that comes along in the middle of the season, so we need to be prepared for it.
So 2026 in mind, is there maybe a more or a lesser desire to get long-term controllable guys? Or are you looking to still get players with a lot of years of control?
I think I would really, to the extent we do have decisions to make the next few days, you can look at it. If those happen, you can look at those individual decisions and look at what the return is. Our goal is to put the Pirates in a stronger position going into 2026. There's lots of different things that need to happen for us to accomplish that, and it's not going to be from a single decision. It may be that we can acquire, whether it's this week or this offseason, it may be that we can acquire players that jump right onto the roster or might soon jump right on the roster. It also may be that we trade for players that are further away. That's in no way a signal that we've changed course. Like the goal is to put together a team that is going to perform better in 2026. There's different ways to do that. There's a lot of different things that have to happen. So we're just going to be looking for opportunities to do that. And if we think that a player that we can get in a trade is valuable to the Pirates, can help us towards that goal, no matter what level they're at, well, then we want to be ready to take advantage of that.
When you say if you trade for somebody that is maybe a little further away, like to the fan base, they would probably think that that's not what you're saying. So can you go a little bit deeper into what that would mean?
Sure, if that happens, and I don't know if that's going to happen, but if that happens, I would look at it in two ways. One is that's because we've made a determination that in this particular case, the value we're getting back is going to help the Pirates long term, and so this decision makes sense for the Pirates long term. And two, that even if a player is further away, it doesn't mean that players that are further away can't also help us in some way get better in 2026. There will be more opportunities this offseason, whether it's other trades that we might use that very player in, or does acquiring that player help us do something else with somebody else? So I think that's where we have to look at the total portfolio of decisions between now and March to assess that. So I would ask for people to think about it in those two ways.
And there's been a lot of talk that you guys need to acquire offense, and especially some bats with some pop in it. What is the challenge of trying to do that at the trade deadline as opposed to the offseason, given that the teams that you're most likely going to be dealing with are contenders who aren't going to want to give up bats? Is that more looking at guys that are in a fourth outfielder or somebody who's at a high level of the minor leagues and is on the cusp of what you think could be in position to help you?
Yeah, I think part of it is not forcing it. We need to score more runs to win more games. That's clear, and that's a goal going into 2026. And we're still learning, obviously, working long hours right now to find out what those opportunities are between now and Thursday. And we can't force it. We've got to stay disciplined and not do something that we don't believe in just because it brings back a position player that might look a little bit better on the roster. So we got to stay disciplined. We also know in Pittsburgh, and in a lot of cases, we're going to be acquiring players who are not fully proven yet, who we believe can contribute, whether it's on the pitching side or position player side in the near term, but aren't fully proven yet. And that's just as important part of this of getting better is really doing that really well, is acquiring those, you know, less proven players and bringing them into an environment where they can thrive and are getting better. We've seen some examples of that happening, maybe a little bit more on the pitching side. We've got to do that really well too. So that's part of it, given that you know, often it's going to be the case that the players that we're going to acquire are not, you know, fully mature or fully certain players.
How much of that is about identifying players that fit into what you want to do, and maybe even establishing what you want this team's identity to be next year and beyond? Saying this is the type of team we want to have, and these are the type of players that fit into that identity.
Yeah, I think it's really a combination of continuing to get clear on the traits that we believe in. You know, if players aren't fully established, then what you're doing is you're looking at, like, what are the skills that we're betting on, what are the qualities that we're betting on, and making sure that those qualities are also in line with what we think our staff believes in and is equipped to improve, right? What are the things that we believe we can improve? What are the things that we're less confident we can improve? Picking the players that fit that. So that's basically the exercise, and, you know, a little less about, you know, is our identity small ball or 3-run home run? Like, and it's really it's much more about what are the skill traits that we believe will translate to major league success, and included in that, which are the ones that we have more confidence we can improve, which are the ones we have less confidence we can improve, and trying to line that up.
Broadly speaking, just how have you found the waters to be so far as the phone ringing, as far as interest being expressed to you about some guys in the clubhouse? Do you feel like you're heading into Thursday just in a position of strength as far as being able to maximize returns?
It's been very busy with phone calls. I think really, as soon as the draft was over, you know, it's been very consistently busy. It's not just me on the phone. We got a team of people talking to other teams. It feels about normal right now in terms of, you know, it's Sunday, it's 4 days out or whatever. It feels about normal from where we are. That, you know, the amount of phone calls and ideas being shared and, you know, analysis being done far outpaces the actual action right now. That's pretty typical for 4 days out. I would anticipate as we get closer to Thursday, not just for the Pirates but for other teams, that there will be more action. That's just the way it goes. So nothing's been surprising so far. I think we're still at a point where teams are. You've seen some deals happen. Certainly, we're prepared to make deals. You know, we're prepared to make a deal today if it's the right things on the table. But there's still quite a bit of price checking going on, and teams sort of feeling each other out and figuring out, like, is this price going to drop? Is it not? You know, kind of when to move, that kind of thing.
What is the price on offense as it pertains to major league ready bats?
Well, if you're talking about, like, current proven, you know, everyday position player performers, especially if they're controllable past this year, price is very high, as you'd expect. You know, it always depends a little bit on how much money they're making, and there's other factors in it, but the price for those players is going to be highest, and so we should be open to acquiring those players, but that's also a reason why, and especially for us, I think that we need to be particularly ready and successful at acquiring the players who are not fully proven. So it's both, but yeah, you know, if you want to get ready-made offense, you're gonna have to pay a lot for it.
Would you have to pay more than starting pitching or relief pitching at this point?
Not necessarily. I think it's every team's in a different situation, and so the market is going to value, you know, wins, right? Whether those wins are coming through pitching or coming through offense, the market's going to value that. That's like sort of less about the Pirates and more just how much players cost.
Speaking of cost, how much do you have to kind of, if you're in sell mode, make sure that people realize that this isn't a fire sale, that this isn't salary driven, that it's about getting better. It's not just about dumping salary and getting rid of it. How much of that is something you have to deal with when people are inquiring about your players?
It's pretty easy because it's just not, you know, that's not the exercise. Is not to move payroll. The exercise is to get better. And so in that, we just communicate that, honestly, and in that we say, look, we're open-minded. We want to hear about what your ideas are. There's obviously players we're going to value extremely highly, but the more information, the better. And if that information keeps flowing between teams, that's how you eventually find the thing that you think makes sense.
On your day-to-day analysis, does that include analyzing the returns other teams got from their trades?
To some degree. I mean, it gives you sort of a market marker. It informs. I don't think it doesn't inform what we're willing to do. I think where it's helpful is it gives you a sense of, all right, if this team gave up this for this player, this might inform how this other team, what they might give up for a player that's similar.
Yeah.
And it gives you kind of a guide towards that. Ultimately, we should be making decisions, though, based on the information we have and what we believe in, and not because this team made that decision.
Yeah.
Then how risk-averse are you considering the urgency? And what I mean by that is, if somebody wants to give you a top 100 that doesn't have a major league at-bat, there's still, with the gap from AAA to the big leagues, as we've heard, being as big as ever, there's some inherent risk if you would be giving up a bona fide player for somebody that is otherwise unproven, as talented as they may be.
Sure. I don't think we can be risk-averse. I don't think that's going to work in Pittsburgh. If we want to win, we're going to have to assume risk. And with risk comes downside to that, obviously. If it doesn't work out, we get criticized. That's okay. I don't think we can win without assuming that risk, though. Now it's case by case, right? Like, we're not going to assume, we don't need to, or we'll assume massive risk on every single decision. But we're going to have to be willing to assume risk, I believe, to win, and that risk can come in different forms. And sometimes that's going to come in the form of a player that we believe in that hasn't done anything in the big leagues yet, and until they do, there's no proof that they will.
You talked about not wanting to force a trade, and trade deadline versus the offseason. That other teams might be up against the wall more. Does that give you a little bit of extra motivation, knowing that they might try to force a trade?
I think you try to learn that, through the conversations, and our job is to assess that, right? Like, if this team's motivation and what is on the table, suggesting that now is the time to strike versus waiting. Now, in some cases, you can't wait, because of the nature of the player that you're talking about. But certainly, in some cases, we have that choice. And plenty of times, the best decision is to not do anything. Either not do anything ever, or not do anything and wait until, wait longer, wait till the offseason. So it's case by case, but our job is to assess that accurately and make that determination. Like, okay, well, this does seem like it's the high point because of what we're hearing, and if it is, be willing and ready to strike. And if not, and we have the ability to stay patient and disciplined, then that's the path we go down.
Do you find yourself in a position of strength, considering how much other teams need starting pitching in particular, considering that that's a strength of this team?
Yeah, we get a lot of calls on that. We're getting a lot of calls on all kinds of players, major league, minor league, and that's every team is. So I think that's going to happen. It's clear to me that there's lots of things we can and will be able to do between now and Thursday. I think that way more important is what are the things we actually want to do and believe in and believe fit into that goal of putting this team in a stronger position by next March.
As it pertains specifically to Bednar last night, it's hard to bypass Joey Bart's emotion in his post-game interview. David Bednar was very reflective. He took a moment to leave the ballpark and kind of drink it all in. So is it a safe assumption that there's been some candid conversations with him specifically?
Well, I can't imagine. I think I've said something like this before, but I do mean it. I'm not sure I can recall a single player who has been as strong on the field and off the field, and it happens to be from that city, as David has been. So the sort of trifecta of those things is not lost on any of us. And and so much respect for him for who he is, the performer on the field, the person off the field, the willingness to fight through adversity, which he has done here also, not too recently. So I don't know what's going to happen. He's a really valuable pitcher, really, really important person. I think we should take that very seriously. And yeah, any conversations I have with him, I'll keep between him and I. But you know, have a huge amount of respect for him.
Him and Keller are two guys who have been connected to rumors and are also two leaders on this team. How much of that is factored into whenever you are weighing proposals?
Yeah, I think the leadership certainly, and just the proven performance. You know, if we're going to be better in 2026, we need more of that, not less. So we would only contemplate giving up something that's seemingly more proven if we really believe that it gives us a better chance to be better by next year. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, in the meantime, you know, you do the best you can to be available, stay in touch with players. Some don't want to talk about it a lot, and some do, and try to respect that. And the truth is, often, like, I'm giving them what I can say, which is not complete, and because I don't know. You know, you're just trying to be available if they want the conversation.
There's somebody like an IKF who's on an expiring contract that has some value because of his versatility. How much do you weigh considering keeping a guy like that versus, I mean, a lot of people look at him as an obvious trade chip, but keeping a guy like that because he has value to, perhaps multiple positions, but certainly shortstop.
Yeah, I don't feel like, even if a player's on an expiring contract, I don't feel like we have to trade them. I think we only do if, again, we believe the combination of the return that we get and perhaps the opportunity it might open up, again, like, puts us closer to that goal of being better in 2026. If the answer is no, and you know, we believe that the contributions that that player will make over the next 2 months, or what they're going to have in the clubhouse, or whatever, is more valuable, then no issue just holding and letting it play out. So we'll see. We'll see between now and Thursday what happens.
This will be your 6th trade deadline with the Pirates. Can you highlight, maybe lessons learned from the previous ones that help you going into this one?
Yeah. Well, it's really hard. There's 29 other teams, doing this work, and a lot of really talented people out there with the Pirates and every other team that are trying to find a way to grab any advantage or piece of value they can through these decisions. I think it's very clear to me over time you're not gonna score 1,000, you're not gonna bat 1,000 on these or be 100%. That's really not the goal. The goal is to put the Pirates in a stronger position, and I believe trades has to be something that we're willing to do, and probably a lot over time, because if you look at teams that are succeeding that are most similar to us, they're getting a lot of value through trades, and they don't win every one of them. They don't get every one of them right, but they get enough over time that it adds up, and we have to be ready to do the same thing. So I think if there's a lesson, it's just that we need to continue to be laser focused on the process of who we're identifying to acquire, and also then if we do acquire, how are we platforming that player in the best possible way we can, so that over time the volume of trades adds up to more winning, even if they're not all going to work out perfectly.
Ben, given that you've run the draft and now the trade deadline, how much of that is maybe a ownership show of confidence in you? How much do you view it that way, not just for this season but beyond?
Honestly, the schedule in July is so busy that I don't really have time to think about much other than just do the work and execute. My job is to serve the Pirates. My job is to wake up every day and find a way to help the Pirates get better, period. That's the only thing I care about. I have consistent communication with Bob and Travis about how we're trying to do that. That communication happens every day, and we're going to continue to make the recommendations that we believe put the Pirates in a stronger position going forward.
One or two more?
With switching a little bit to the MLB draft, as of right now, the second round pick, Angel
Yep.
Cervantes, remains unsigned and says he's committing to UCLA.
Yep.
Are negotiations still undergoing
No,
with
I
him?
do. I do expect he's going to attend UCLA, and we respect that decision. We, as a group, we spent a lot of time over the past several months getting to know Angel and his family, and obviously really like him, and wouldn't have taken him where we did if we didn't. And you know, he's a really talented young high school pitcher, and believe he should flourish at UCLA. As we got closer to that pick in the draft, you know, we want to honor our board as much as we possibly can, and he was the player we believe was the best player on our board at the time we selected. We understood when we selected him that there was a risk. We understood enough about his situation and what we were hearing from him and his representatives that we understood that there was a risk. There was some risk that he would not sign. We took him knowing that. We planned for that in the later rounds and after the 10th round. And we did, I believe we made a very aggressive and fair offer for him, which he ultimately chose to turn down, and respect that. And so respect that decision, wish him well. We were able to pivot and sign a couple more players after the 10th round once we had that information. And we're excited to have the pick back next year and in what looks like a really strong draft.
Is that where NIL wins the day, maybe?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what his NIL situation is. I'm sure it's a factor. He's also a Southern California kid from a family that, I think values that proximity, that UCLA provides and being on campus. And I'm sure there's more than, I don't want to speak for all the factors that led to his decision, but yeah, it's a new world for sure, and that's a piece of it for every player.
Good.